You're up.
All right, welcome into CBD on a Monday edition of the program. I am merely Beau. He is the great Z. How you living, pal?
I'm doing very well. I have
Nice job.
I'm leaning into, this snow and this gray as best as a person can. We were right in your backyard the other last night at Brandywine doing some polar blast tubing with the kids, which was great. So
Yes.
the family did, the grandmothers, Miss Kay's mom, Jack Kay, and my mom, Nana, got together and wanted to put together a fun outdoor, COVID-safe activity. And so they got us a reservation from 5 to 7. We did some tubing, and it was a blast. It was truly a polar blast. I had a great time.
No one in the history of time has had a bad time sledding.
No, agreed.
Never. It's undefeated. It's undefeated. It wins always. It's like jet skis and snowmobiles. Like, you're just not going to have a bad time doing that. And the weather was warmer too, so you weren't freezing probably compared to what it's been the last week or so. Yeah, it was good. It was very, very good. Now, do they let you? Can you go tandem tube, or did you have to go single?
Four at a time. You can go up to 4 people at a time connected up. It's great.
Wow.
They got a nice system. The boys would love it. And it's totally, it's safe for all age. They would love it.
Yeah, we've done it other places. We usually ski over there. We haven't done the polar blast, but it looked
good.
I follow Miss Kay on social.
She's quite a documentarian. So she is. You don't even need to ask me, what did you do this weekend? It's there. It's on her Instagram story. It's there. It's a good culinary journey, though. If people are into food, it's like not a bad food blog.
Quite a document. She's the Ken Burns.
She is. She's like Kenny Burns of our life. Of our life.
Of our life.
Yeah.
It's all there, which is great.
Like if somebody one day wanted to truly do, I don't know what would move them to do so to do it. She's already got all the footage for you. Just go through her old Instagram stories. It's done.
It's all there.
It's all there.
Yeah, you're not Ken Burns going through libraries looking at microfiche.
No,
it's all there. You can find it. So that's good.
That when you just said that word, that I just got a shudder in my body. Microfiche and microfilm. I did when I was one of my minors. So I ended up getting my bachelor's and my master's in political science, but my minors, I had one that was colonial American history. So I've always really liked that period.
Sure.
And hence the reason I love Last of the Mohicans, et cetera, all of that stuff. And gosh, you would have to do. I mean, you need primary sources. So what did you do? You went in the library in the stacks, they called it, at Emory, and you would get microfiche and microfilm and read the newspapers of the day.
That's
but
right.
I mean, that takes
That's how you did it.
a lot of
imagine
time.
Kids now trying to explain that to them.
No, I'm sure it's always somewhere it's digital somewhere. Oh, here it is in 2 seconds. Great. I got a full printout of it.
Yeah, there's no Wikipedia?
I'm like looking through.
No Wikipedia. No
You're like
Google.
looking through a magnifying glass on like a cell that's a picture of a whole entire newspaper. It's outrageous. Outrageous.
It really was outrageous. It absolutely was. Have you found anything that has captured that period well, other than Last of the Mohicans, from an entertainment standpoint?
I mean, I would like to get into more of it. I wish there were more on it. No, Last of the Mohicans
really
to me is great. And that's obviously pre-colonial, and they take some liberties with, some of the sentiments. In 1757, nobody was talking about, taxation without representation. That just isn't factually correct, even though they were starting to plant some of those seeds in that movie. There's got to be some good stuff. Like, I mean, The Patriot, I enjoyed.
There's a great David There's a great David McCullough book, 1776, which I enjoyed thoroughly. And
Same.
there was at one point there was talk of making that into an HBO series.
That I would be into.
And
inject that into my
with the source materials there, I thought that's got a real chance, but I don't know whatever happened to it, but there was talk of getting that done.
The best part is, the source material is there. It's based on history that's already happened, so we can't get ahead of the book and butcher the ending.
Right. No, unlike some things that we've enjoyed throughout the years, certainly. All right, let's get to the OBM Hot Topics. Ohio Business Machine, preferred copier provider, your Cleveland Browns, for all the X's and O's for your office. You can call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. This is a bit of melancholy and infinite sadness because this is Combine Week. It's Combine Week, man.
I'm not
and it's there's a lot lot of angles to this. There's our selfish angle of the pure joy of the combine,
We'd be at Nada,
which I will miss
2 days.
tremendously. Yeah, right. Yeah, the only thing I didn't like about the trip was the drive, which is just far too long, and there's no reason there's not a straighter path between us and Indy that you got to go all the way to Columbus to get. It's crazy. Nevertheless, that's the only thing I don't like. But from a just selfish standpoint, it's an awesome trip, and we have a ton of fun, and it's a real team bonding thing in terms of all of us who are involved. And frankly, the fact that it's been 50 weeks since we've been doing this show remotely, 50 weeks since it's happened. I know you're back in the studio. The stream.
That's right.
And if you have any trouble with the stream, make sure you contact Gibby directly.
I hope they can all tell the difference between this and the soft launch. Big difference. A lot of difference.
Huge
difference. This is the full launch. This is the full launch. This is no longer soft.
The full Monty.
That's right.
Yep. No, it's full. So
we need a Gibby cam
the fact
on the
that
stream.
This is our 50th week, by the way, 50th week
50
that we've been doing this like this, which is crazy. Other than the couple weeks at the Combine where you and I did it together, other than that, it's been all this. So this is week 50.
And this was the Combine week was our last real week. It would have been this week leading the Combine would have been the last time that you and I were in the studio together. We have not been in the studio together since the Tuesday March 3rd was the last time.
1
that
year
we
ago
were in
tomorrow.
The studio. Yep, Tuesday March 3rd would be the last time that we were in the studio together. We had 2 days after the Combine that we were here together, and then I took off, and then came back to a different world.
Yeah, and that was it. So it's crazy.
Crazy.
So we will miss that. And then there's all sorts of things in terms of NFL teams and how business is going to get done. And if you're drafting these quarterbacks, now you're missing out on this time to not just uniformly test, but to talk to them, to have meetings. There's this the business of the NFL will not be done. This is business that is done at Harry and Izzy's, or it's done at one of these lobby hotels and in their basement, in their bar, in the lobby. I mean, this is I'm not sure how this is going to be, but a lot of things that are counted on in the offseason are not happening this year.
Nope.
And remember, folks, for all of the talk of, we did a virtual draft last year. You did, but the hay was in the barn.
Correct.
You had a full normal college season. You had a combine. You had a lot of guys had pro days. You're not having any of that. So, and then the other thing, and then I'd love for you to kind of discuss each one of these because you have more intimate knowledge on it than even I do. The other part of this is I am a little worried that this sets a precedent of, do we really need to do the combine the way we've done it?
Yeah, I agree.
A lot to digest there, buddy, but those were the things that jumped into my head on this.
I agree with you completely. I think you wonder, and for Indianapolis, I'm sure that's city that is terribly invested in this continuing as it has for quite some time, and you just wonder, is it going to be able to have that opportunity to do so? And you certainly hope it does, but you just don't know. It's like one of those things at this point, frankly, dude, we just don't know. We don't know what's going on with this going forward and the combine and what that's going to look like. And, once you've successfully done virtual drafts and once you've successfully done virtual combines, you don't know. You can't say how things are going to look going forward. What I can tell you is this. The league has certainly a vested stake, in my opinion, in the combine continuing in its current form because there's, as you said, it's the business that is done there that matters significantly.
Yeah, I just wonder if there's no question. You just wonder, is it going to be? I mean, if you think about it, not only did the entire NFL meet in Indy, but the entire NFL's video teams.
Yep.
If they have radio teams like what we do, they were there. If you think about from the standpoint of the entire front office, the entire scouting department, there were times I remember talking to our guys last year where the scouts were out on the road, and Indy was the first time that everybody was together in the same room.
Yeah.
It was in Indy.
Of course.
Right? And so that's all gone. And, does the NFL then say, you know what? Stan Kroenke built this thing. We're going to get some hotels built there. We're going to rent studios. We have studio space from the NFL Network that's going out there in Inglewood. Does the Combine move to Los Angeles as an NFL-owned entity?
Well,
if I'm Indy, that's what I would fear.
Well, I can tell you from knowledge of it, that was, at least at some point, that's been the talk for these many years, that the Combine indeed will move itself out. It'll head west, young fella, as they like to say, and make its way out to Los Angeles, which, I mean, I can't say February in Los Angeles sounds bad. It's just a very different thing than driving in and driving back. It's a different level of flexibility. But, the great thing about flying from here to the West Coast is you could leave on that, 7:30 flight in the morning. You're there 9:30, put in a day, and now you're ready to roll. And as I know, you have a great affinity for the West Coast, as do I.
Yeah, from that standpoint, from a convenience standpoint, there's no way it could match Indy. Because just getting around is going to be much more difficult.
Terrible. The night is going to be awful.
Yeah.
Indy's great. It's the perfect place for it. Now,
it really is. Yeah.
It has a chance because of that. There is something to everybody being able to walk around, and I do think that the NFL likes what it has there. But you're right. As all these things evolve and become business, and there's probably more money to be made having it in LA than here. You're right. You cannot create. It's almost like Indy's downtown area turns into a college. I don't know if other people had this experience, but when I went to college, all the freshmen at Emory came in, I think 2 weeks before everybody else did. And you had basically 2 weeks there to kind of get acclimated. Maybe it was a week. In my mind, it felt like 2 weeks. But now that I think about it, 2 weeks, I don't know that I would have survived. 1 week, we'll call it 1 week for the sake of this. You came in, and basically I called it Camp College. We were there. We didn't have class, and they just wanted us to do mixers and socialize and have a blast. And that's kind of what, not that just without the work aspect, but there is work to be done in Indy, but that's what it turns into. It's almost like a college. Everywhere you walk, it's like you're all in the same. There's like 3 dorms, right? There's the JW Marriott, there's the Marriott, and then there's the one other hotel, and those are the three main.
Conrad.
Yeah, the 3 main hotels, and then everybody's in there. Here are your dining halls that you can go to, whether it's a St. Elmo's or a Prime 140 or whatever it is, and that's where you are. That's just where the people are. And here are the hotel bars for your mixers, and that's it. And so everybody is all around each other.
It's very collegiate.
Yes, and you will not have that in Los Angeles. There's no – unless they took over like L.A. Live and had everybody staying at those hotels right downtown, which I guess they could do, but they need – the stadium's not there. The stadium's –
No. In Inglewood.
Right.
Yeah. No, and I know that the plan when Kroenke built out there was to build hotels and stuff out there, and so maybe
a whole complex.
Eventually he'll get to a point where he's got 3 or 4 hotels out there that people can stay in. Maybe that makes sense. I don't know. But it's going to be a big adjustment, and it's going to be for NFL teams. It is going to be you're flying blind, and you better trust to a certain extent. You're going to have to trust your scouting, your tape, and your relationships. If you have relationships with college coaches that are good, you will benefit tremendously, because that last one is the one where you can tell if a guy is a bad guy or not.
Yep.
I once had a job interview where I went through this whole interview, series of people. I get to the final guy, who was like the guy who made the decision on the hire. And the interview lasted about 45 seconds. And he goes, "Yeah, you're hired. You can start in a couple weeks." And I said, "Oh, great." I said, "That's it?" He goes, "Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you weren't a blank hole or not." That's it. And I went, "Okay, well, that's great." And that last part is what happens in Indy.
Of course. Sure.
Because you get the time. That's when you make the decisions. Can this be a guy, if you're going to have 4 quarterbacks taking the first 5 picks, 4 in the first 4 maybe, is this a guy that I can trust and give the keys to? Look at the Jets. The Jets have Sam Darnold. He's 23. They know who Sam Darnold is. They know who he is. They know what type of person he is. They know what he can do, what he can't do. You can argue whether he's better than Wilson or not. Orlovsky feels like he is. Others do too. Who knows? How are they going to get to know who Zach Wilson is? How are they going to get to know who Justin Fields is without being face-to-face with him the way that the Combine allows?
It's that, and then you get the 30 for the 30 visits afterwards, which you're going to not have as well. But there's the story of, I think was it Ron Rivera or was it Matt Rule who said, somebody in the elevator, I knew that they weren't right for our team just riding an elevator. And it's sometimes it's not it's the unscripted moments. You're walking and the players are walking and the coaches are walking, and you can bump into a guy and say, "Hey, how about this? We can unscientifically measure Kyler Murray's height on a step at Harry and Izzy's." So It's those little things that are perhaps outside of the structure. Because, look, these guys are coached. They're coached very well for the formal things that happen there. And so to be able to get, those informal moments, I think it does. Yeah. It tells a lot. And you can even observe. It does. Some people talk about, I like to observe how they treat everybody. So how are they treating the ushers who are kind of guiding them through the cavernous center there? All of those little things, you're going to have none of that. I don't like it. I think this is going to be a difficult year for scouting for a variety of reasons. A lot of guys who are going to be picked in the first round that opted out and didn't even play college football. That, to me, is going to be stunning. But, as you said, selfishly, I'm going to miss our times together, and I'm going to miss the opportunity to, for me, this is where I connect with a lot of people that I've made relationships with over the last, 9 years or 8 years in the league that you can.
The standing interview with Greg Cosell.
Come on, I know.
Come on.
Pure joy.
That's my favorite. We love that.
Me fighting with Chris Sims.
All these years.
You fighting with Chris Sims. You lurking. Although we've given up on it, which is good. I think it's for the best. Lurking on Rappaport was always great. The juxtaposition of you towering over him lurking was just unbelievable.
You can't
be on the hunt.
No, Gibby. Oh, Gibby.
Not for only for
we need
so
somebody
long.
with like an Australian accent or a South African accent narrating Gibby on the hunt like they would on a good National Geographic video. Yeah, stalking his prey. Yes.
Yeah, we definitely need. The gazelle. We definitely need that happening. Maybe
we'll get Dabo to narrate it for us. Yeah.
There we go. Give him a script, and we can put it all together. Yes. Yeah. No, it stinks. That part of it all stinks. By the way, if there could have been, speaking of narration, or even just like a camera on us as the Kyler Murray moment at Harry and Izzy's happened, because that was one of the greatest. As we were coming down, were we having a dinner with the agent with the stars?
We were.
I feel like we were.
That's
a
right.
drink or something.
You're exactly
we came
right.
down. And we came down at Harry and Izzy's, and there was this conversation all week of how tall is he really? And we had come to the realization, because we had sourced it properly, that he was going to be the number one pick in the draft.
That's
really
right.
Before anyone.
That's right.
We had it locked up. And through absurd circumstances. And so we knew that he was going to be the number one pick, and we kept saying, well, when's he going to measure? Remember, everyone wanted to see when he was going to measure. He had that weird interview with Dan Patrick. Remember that one where his dad, like, he going to play football or play for the A's, and his dad was off to the side, and Dan's like, well, do we need to ask the dad? That was at the Super Bowl. So this is like the first time any of this stuff had happened.
Oh, yeah.
Remember this? So we're walking out of Harry and Izzy's, if you and I make eye contact at him, look at each other, knowing that I'm 5'10" and a half in that neck of the woods, that if I can get on a step with him, we're going to have a real good feel about the true height.
Yeah.
We'll get a real good feel on the true height. And we got it.
Oh, we did get it.
We got it.
The tail of the tape
what a moment.
Would say something different than the tail of the tape said. Tail of the tape would say that you were definitely taller than he was.
I felt like I was.
I saw it with my own eyes. You were.
Yes,
I mean, there's no doubt.
You had the advantage of your height, your stature, to being able to measure it and see the top of both of our heads.
Yeah.
And know exactly who was taller. Yes.
Because I wasn't on the same step you guys were on. We got him. You came down. He came up. We got you at the same step at the same time, and I was right there. And boom,
you were right there.
Nailed it. There's no doubt. Now
nailed it.
You have a nice, you're nicely coiffed, and maybe perhaps we had to push down. Maybe there was an inch up there that was not genuine, but I felt there was no doubt in my mind. He had hair up there too, and you were taller. But guess what? Height doesn't matter, and that's the funny thing. Like, do you think if Kyler Murray ever, the decision comes, are we going to franchise him or is he going to become a free agent? Do they ever mention his height again? No. You see the guy play. So what? Who cares? Over. It's dumb.
But that was the absurdity of it. It was like watching DK Metcalf bench press.
Oh my goodness.
And then all of a sudden he couldn't, because he couldn't run a cone drill. No one wanted to pick him. Well, you don't run a lot of cone drill routes.
No, not on the outside.
As it turns out.
That's right. As it
turns out. Can you run a go? Can you run a stop? Can you run a deep over? Yeah, at a high level. Okay, well, you're an all-pro. And there you go. It's that simple. I saw this morning. If the Browns don't end up getting J.J. Watt, should they go after Von Miller? If Miller were to be cut, would he be a better option than Watt? What say you, buddy?
So Von Miller, I think, in terms of being a pure pass rusher, opposite Myles Garrett, you got Texas A&M connection as well, I think would be – and I'll say this. From somebody who would know better than I was told he's a better fit, and that's who would be on this person's at the top of their wish list. If you were going for an aged veteran. That Von Miller is a pure pass rusher, complements Myles Garrett more than J.J. Watt does.
There you go. Well, so that's all you need.
That's all you need. The person
right there
is Hall of Fame bound, or maybe he's there already.
Oh,
I don't want to give too much away.
Could be.
He could.
Well, if he is there, you can refer to him in that way, and if he's not, then you can't. But you have to know that he is or isn't.
Well, let me put this
before
to you.
You can make any sort of ruling.
Let me put this to you. Maybe he simultaneously is on his way. Maybe he's already there.
Oh.
But also on his way.
Right. And you'd want to make sure you knew that before making any type of ruling.
That's right.
I would say.
That's right.
Yeah. That's right. Lots of fun on the program today. We'll go over the quarterback position breakdown coming up here shortly. Take a look at what needs to get better there, what the depth in that room looks like going forward. Big season for Baker and the organization in terms of an extension or what that starts to look like. And just a crazy scene over the weekend with Cam Newton. So we're going to have a little fun on the program, Dave. Oh, by the way, the champ is here.
The champ is here. That's right. The WWE Champion crowned last night at the WWE Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Cleveland's own, Parma's own, The Miz will be joining us live at 2:30. No pun intended. It is awesome. You're right, Beau. You're right.
So good.
Well done.
So good.
Bravo.
Fun little program for the kids. Off and running here. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. The best podcast available is back. Be sure to check out the Ibs Boys They count you down to the NFL draft. This week, the guys are joined by Browns linebacker Jacob Phillips to talk about the draft position.
Yeah,
Log on to clevelandbrowns.com or wherever you get your podcasts. To watch an episode, check out youtube.com/Browns. Such a different feel for us this year in the draft when you pick 26. It's not like you can circle a bunch of tackles and say, all right, these are the guys we're picking from, or years previously. You're talking about Miles or you're talking about a quarterback. Like, who knows what's going to happen at 26? Could be any number of things.
Yeah, 25 people have to be picked. You have to have 26 scenarios, basically, by the time you get to 26 in terms of, who's there for you, et cetera. Look, this is what I like to call the benefit of being relevant, and that is that the draft is no longer the day of salvation. And that's what it's been in Cleveland for so long. The draft was viewed as, here is our chance to right the ship. This is our day of salvation. The movie Draft Day, there's a reason it was made about Cleveland, because that's what it was. They weren't going to make a movie Draft Day about a team picking 26th. And that's great. Because what it means now is the draft is about adding a piece here or there. Some guys, one that you really expect to contribute right away at a big position of need late in the first round. Maybe get your second rounder, your thirds, maybe get some action. But for the most part, it's about filling out the roster, getting some guys who can play special teams, guys who are part of your succession planning. Not this is where we must rewrite the ship. This is where we have to set the course again and rectify this organization in this city. This is not a day of salvation anymore. Now it's a day of adding in just a little piece. It's finding that, getting that little sprinkle of some umami in your dish. That's what you're looking for now.
That's right.
But you're not trying to go out and find the steak or the prime rib or the lobster. You got it.
The ship, you use the ship analogy. The ship's built. The ship's built.
And it's seaworthy.
You're looking for, it is seaworthy. You're looking for a cannon here or there to put on the starboard side. I mean, that's where you're at. I mean, this isn't. The heavy lifting is done. The heavy lifting is done, man. So there's a possibility that the guy you pick at 26 isn't even someone who's counted on to start right away, depending on what happens in free agency. I think that's very possible. And you certainly want them to. You want your first, second, third. You want everyone to compete for starting spots. That means that you've drafted well. But you're right. I love that line. This is not a day of salvation. The salvation has taken place already. Yeah. This is adding to, and it's going to take an adjustment for the city. Now, it's a little different this year because it's here. So that's a little different. But we're going to be picking in this neighborhood for a while. And so it used to be forever, and I'm sure when you did this show, the off season was more important than the season sometimes because you couldn't wait to see who the draft was, who was going to be. It was Christmas in April. That's all gone, man.
Gone.
It's all gone.
Which is great. That means that you're doing well.
It's great.
I'm going to go on your ship analogy. I think you're exactly right with the adding a cannon. It's just all of our cannons were, as they could be on a ship, would be very difficult facing forward. We were targeting people. Now we have people coming for us. Now we need some rear-facing cannons for the, eat my wake and my cannonball.
That's right.
That's what we're trying to do to the Baltimores and the Pittsburghs and the Cincinnatis.
That's right.
So it's a totally different thing. The draft was everything. It was all exciting because, remember, the draft's all theoretical. And everybody that you draft around draft time is going to exceed or meet the upper limit of their bound, right? That's how you always feel about these people. It's like same thing when you come out of a fantasy draft. You draft everybody, and they're like, this guy's going to be my number one. This guy's my number two. They're all doing these things, but reality is not always that way. And the great thing about the draft is you can ride that emotion and that wave for months and months and months before you could end up getting a five-finger slap to the face from reality. In this case, for us now, the waiting is to get to play games, not to find out about theoreticals, but to continue to build on actuals. And so it's a completely different offseason. Now we're going, as I said, and I'm going analogies all over the place, but now it's like a meal. Like we've got our main courses. Now we're just trying to bring in, what would be a nice app to set this up? What would be a nice side to go with this? How about the perfect cocktail? Let's call Beau Bishop. Al will go get it. We're going to get some, vanilla ghee. That's what we're going to do.
Did yours show up?
Oh, it's in the house. It's ready. Now I need to get some cider. I feel like it's a cold night. Maybe tonight will be I think I'm going to do it on my, first Friday. I don't want to go to like the first Wednesday, to do it.
Right.
So I think that's what we're looking at. Yeah.
I think that's good. That's a good job out of you. When did you first become aware of this Cam Newton video that made such a big deal over the weekend?
Yesterday, and it's funny, I was with my kids and watched it, and Bryce is 11, Arden 12, about to be 13 in April, and it just was such another example of the fact of two things that trouble me. Respect in our society I think has never been lower. And respect is earned. It's not given, but in a situation where you don't know, or where you have somebody like Cam Newton at his camp, it's always better to err on the side of being respectful, right? And I think we live in a very much
elders.
Yes,
respect your elders.
Simple. We live in
How many times did Pedro say that to you? The amount of times that was said to me by the Marlboro Man, I can't even count.
Yes. It wasn't a question, though. But it wasn't a question. Like, I would never even think to disrespect an elder.
Of course not.
Because it was ingrained in you that was not how you conducted your business. Now, as I tell my kids, too, I say, look, there is no hierarchy of thought, right? A good idea is a good idea no matter where it comes from. However, the way in which you present your information is what matters. And the way that you talk to other people and the way that you want other people to talk about you matters. And we live in, I think, a time where with social media, it's easy to just go blast somebody from a keyboard. It's easy to go blast somebody in a quick little video. We live in, I think, an age of self-indulgence over self-importance, and it's very easy to be disrespectful to people. It's almost, there are more haters when somebody does something well, for example. I'll give you a perfect example. The Miz wins the WWE title last night. This is one of my great friends, okay?
That's right.
I know how hard he works. I know what he does day in and day out, flying across the country, leaving his family, matches after match after matches in different towns, going up and doing the media. He always says yes, never says no, and has done so. And it's been 10 years since he's been the WWE champion. The last time he was WWE champion was right after, it was a pay-per-view after WrestleMania 27, okay? So I wrote a thing on Twitter. Congrats to my friend. You deserve this. You deserve this. And people, first of all, I got people argue with me about whether or not it's real or not. I know it's not real. I know that he didn't go out there and earn this in that moment by winning a fair, unscripted competition. But them putting the title on him is saying, we respect all of your hard work. We know that this is going to be good for business, short-term, long-term, whatever it is, and that you are worthy of this. You are worthy of this great honor. And now The Miz is the first two-time Grand Slam champion ever in the modern era. Two-time WWE champion, Intercontinental champion, tag team champion, all of it. He's done it all. Money in the bank, done it all. And so then people are like, he doesn't. What do you mean he deserves it? So everybody who doesn't have it doesn't deserve it? No, that's why these things happen at times. And somebody even said to me, which I found crazy, wrestlers hate the "you deserve it" chant. You're an idiot for thinking that they want to hear that they deserve this. Well, my friend, I spoke with The Miz the night that he won the title, and he very much was happy to hear that he deserved it. And I spoke with Kofi Kingston the night he won the title at WrestleMania 2 years ago, last time people were able to be at WrestleMania. And let me tell you something. He was moved to tears by the fact that people felt and fans felt that he deserved it. That's a fan saying, we know what you've put in, we know what you've done, what you've meant, and now you get to be at the pinnacle. And I just think we live in a society where people want to I don't know. And it's not that, in my day, because I'm not even that old, but I think the lack of accessibility to everything and the lack of accessibility to other people and for your opinions to be heard, it just felt like people were happy for other successes more. And now, anything that happens as a success for somebody, certainly a public figure, there are haters everywhere chopping them down. And for Cam Newton, what are you doing at the camp if that's what did you go there just to spout off? I mean, it's a crazy sign that goes back to the self-importance. This kid thinks I don't know. I was troubled by it, and I tried to use it as a little bit of a teaching moment for my children.
So if you no, not at all. If you haven't seen it, Cam Newton is hosting a 7-on-7 tournament. He has a team competing in the 7-on-7 tournament. He is mingling with some of the other teams, a kid who now we've come to find out is a junior in high school, starts running his mouth. Says, "You're a free agent." Like really
you're broke.
Like trying to chirp, "You're broke." All of this stuff to Cam. In fact, no, he's not. And then Cam probably, in retrospect, if you're Cam, the better thing would be to go get that kid's coach, tell the coach, bring his butt to me so we can have a real talk, the three of us, about how to be a man in the world, behind and away from everybody. That's probably the way he handled it. Cam doesn't. He goes back, says, "I'm rich." He says, "Where's your dad?" Then later, Cam sent out another video where he went back to the kid and just wanted to have a normal, tried to just have a normal dialogue with him. And the kid was really incapable. He kept spitting. I'm sure he was nervous. He was trying not to be, trying to be a tough guy, so forth, so on. Here's a couple of things jumped out to me. The social media part of it is a big part. Social media tough guys. You feel like you are when you are a huge star or a huge celebrity or whatever, and you're on these social media platforms, you are accessible. Fans can reach you. Kevin Durant had a burner account, guys. He read the mentions. Understand that. So these kids think that all of a sudden, for us, our heroes were larger than life.
Yes.
These are not. They're touchable. They're very touchable. These people feel like they know him, that they can talk smack to him. And because of that, they have an inflated and I think false sense that their opinion actually matters. Yes. No, it doesn't. Correct. Your opinion does not matter. You're nobody. It doesn't mean anything. But because it is verified and validated on social, then all of a sudden you become a social media tough guy and you think you can say anything, and that's what this kid thought he could do. Second thing that I thought of. Cam Newton's not cool. If we got to that point, Cam Newton, and I can't prove this, but I racked my head. I was trying to think of it. I can't think of another football player who won the Heisman, won a national championship, was the number 1 overall pick in the draft, and won an NFL MVP and played in a Super Bowl. I don't think that that's ever happened before. For somebody who's checked all of those boxes. That is a box. Joe Burrow could check that box, but he hasn't won an MVP. He hasn't played in a Super Bowl. But it's to check all of those boxes. When you add the national championship component to it, I couldn't think of anybody else. I really couldn't. I tried. I couldn't think of anybody else. It's not that long ago that Cam Newton was far and away the coolest player in the National Football League.
Yes.
5 years ago?
Yes. Doing all those ads. What was the one where he's got the little kid who's the young
yeah.
I don't know, it was a Play 60 ad or whatever it was. Yeah, he was cool. I mean, his fashion's got a little bit wacky,
coolest.
but he's the coolest.
I mean, he's right there. He was as cool as anybody in the league with the Superman,
6'6",
all that stuff. Yes.
Incredibly chiseled features. Superman.
Yeah. So it's a complete lack of awareness of who you're even dealing with if you're the kid, right? And the other thing about Cam is he does so much that you don't see in the communities. There are these stories that get out of him going back to Auburn and meeting with kids who idolized him or in the hospital, all of this stuff. He really does a lot of great stuff in the community. So he's a good dude in that sense, a very good dude in that sense. So that all blew my mind. And then the last thing I would say, and this is something that I'm running into now. If a kid is a bad or disrespectful kid, and I don't know if this kid's a bad kid, but he was a very disrespectful kid, and he since apologized today about this. And now I can't even imagine the storm that he's under now.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. But a 17-year-old kid now is in a real blank storm.
Yep.
Right? So, but he brought it on himself. I get it.
Of course.
He is this way because the people who are in charge of him allowed for it.
Yep.
Parental figures, AAU coaches, whoever's coaching his 7-on-7. The fact that the coach of his 7-on-7 did not grab this kid by the neck and pull him back and say, "Dude, shut it down." He didn't do any of that. The coach, in fact, when they have the back and forth with Cam, he's trying to squash it. He gets trying to they're equal humans.
Not.
This kid and Cam are equal humans. Wait, what? So all of those things, it is one thing, but it's a microcosm of a much bigger issue that is going on. A much bigger issue.
I could not agree more. I mean, listen, this guy took his time. Cam Newton didn't have to be there. Cam Newton took his time to be there. And I remember getting to play in some big basketball tournaments where there would be an NBA player there. And certainly no one who in the NBA world was on the same level of Cam Newton and what he has been in the NFL. And you were like, this is the coolest. This guy's here. Yep. You'd want to, if anything, if you got a chance to ask him something, you'd think all day long, man, what would I ask this guy that I could learn from, that I could apply so that maybe I can someday get to that guy's level? I mean, even for the most notable one was Latrell Sprewell. I remember when we got to talk to Latrell Sprewell. Latrell Sprewell, good pro, no doubt. Yeah. Involved in some crazy incidents, to be sure, but was never a Cam Newton. Not even close. Not even close. And it's just you're right. The coach, I mean, I'll say this. If I had done that in high school, I would have been up on the wall, like in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Yep. And his apology says, as a football player, I let my competitive side get the best of me, and it was a huge miscommunication. Yeah. What are you competing with Cam Newton for? Why do you think that you're involved in a competition with Cam Newton?
Yeah. The kid he's a junior. He's not rated on the 24/7. So it's not like he's a 5-star kid or anything, as if that would justify it.
I think a 5-star kid would be more respectful.
Yeah, it's wild. It was wild. It was there's a lot to it there, certainly. Much more to come. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Limit is important, whether it's a snap count for a football player or a spending limit when you're playing the lottery. So if you like to gamble, set a limit beforehand and stick to it. If you want to learn more, go to keepitfunohio.com for helpful tips on how to keep gambling fun. We'll do our quarterback breakdown coming up here in about 15 minutes from now. Interesting note from Mike Florio yesterday on the salary cap ceiling. At the end, he notes that the league is already assuming stadiums will be at 75% capacity, so it won't impact the cap going up more. I've heard 183, 182, 183, somewhere in that. Most people think it won't go over 185. 75% capacity on stadiums. I'd take it right now. I'm skeptical, but I'd take it right now.
Same, and I would take it right this second. You give me 75%, give me that would be amazing.
50, I'd be thrilled.
That would feel very much like a full house. It would be beautiful. It'd be a beautiful thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm hopeful. I'm certainly hopeful. I don't mean to throw a wet blanket on all this, but it just feels like we're not quite. I don't know. I just think it's going to take. I was talking to a buddy, a doctor guy, and he was saying that however long. Maybe I said this last week on the show. I apologize if I did. He said, however long you think it's going to take longer. Whatever your best, most optimistic, it'll be longer than that. So. But yeah, I mean, I think you're certainly going to see crowds. How big they'll be and if they'll be full or whatever, who knows, or what the restrictions will be, who knows. But I think that's great.
But we're on the progress train. That's the good news.
No question.
No
you can
question.
see light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think the combination of the weather, all of it. It's a tough time of year, man. Anyway, regardless of week 50 amidst a pandemic, it's a tough time of year anyway. So I think it's starting to weigh down on people a little bit going forward. But that will be the business of the NFL will be fascinating once those cap numbers come in. And we've seen this already. You saw this over the weekend with Carolina eliminating space. Looks like they're going to make a real run at Deshaun Watson. I'm not sure the package that they could put together that it would be better than what Miami could. But there's a lot of rumor and innuendo that they're putting that they're clearing all of this stuff out. Upwards of $30 million in cap space to make a run at Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, and that's one of the big takeaways from Albert Breer's Monday Morning Quarterback today was that, yes, in fact, they are as aggressive as anybody in their pursuit of a quarterback.
Yeah, and you just wonder what the package – so they pick 8 this year, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's not better than the Jets or the Dolphins could be.
No.
You can't give them a franchise quarterback going back.
No, you certainly cannot. And so that's going to be – they're going to want – I mean, you can get – look, if you're the Texans, though, and you're saying we're rebuilding, right, you take Teddy in that. Teddy can be a fine bridge, no question, Bridgewater quarterback until you get to whatever it is that you decide you're going to do. Is that as compelling of an offer? No, as some of the other ones. I wonder what's going to happen in terms of, however, everything that we've heard – with Tua, and now as we talked Devontae Smith and saying Mac Jones is better, no question.
Yeah.
And of course, he had more success with them, so it's easy to understand why he would make such a comment. But I wonder what his value is right now around the league.
Well, it's funny. I can't remember who we talked to last week on this exact topic, but that was one of their hang-ups was hey, maybe Houston doesn't like him. I mean, Caserio certainly would have done the homework on Tua last year in New England as they were looking for a quarterback. He would have done the homework on him. Maybe you don't like him.
Absolutely.
But still, even despite that, Miami can still put a better package together, in my view, even if they don't have Tua a part of it, for Deshaun Watson. With all of the picks. They have 4 first-round picks the next 2 years.
Wow.
So that's it. I mean, you're not going to do better than that.
You most certainly are not. What they want, what is their quest, what are they chasing? That's going to be one of the fascinating topics, honestly, in this whole thing. What is, as John McClain laid out for us eloquently, right? Something needs to happen, something needs to be done and figured out. When is that going to be? It's obviously better for this to be something that happens sooner rather than later. Will it? I don't know. But Deshaun Watson is – I'm going to say, and I may be wrong when I say this, and I'll acknowledge that, but I can't think of somebody as good as he is at this stage of their career at that position just being done with his particular franchise and on his way and available.
Yeah, people bring up Carson Palmer, but that was he'd already had his knee, a catastrophic knee injury. It was toward the end of his time in Cincinnati anyway. Sure, he had good years left in Arizona after going to the Raiders first, but this is not that. This is a 25-year-old.
Yeah, not that at all. And now he did have Deshaun's had a knee, right? He had a knee in his rookie year. That's what took him out at the beginning of his year. But he certainly is significantly younger and not as far along.
Right, and it wasn't.
And Carson wasn't coming off a historic season.
Yeah. No,
this is a historic season he had, Deshaun Watson.
It is, and it's I don't think there's precedent for this at this young. This type of thing happens in the NBA. You have this type of stuff happen in the NBA, but it does not happen in the NFL. So it's uncharted waters for everybody, I think, as you try to put this thing together. My hunch is that you won't see any quarterback dealings or quarterback action or any big things in the NFL until probably the 1st of April.
Yeah.
That you'll get through these pro days, the self-scouts of the quarterbacks. So then if you're the Jets with Darnold, for example, you're going to have a better feel if you want to go with Sam or you want to draft one of these quarterbacks after a month of watching these guys throw at their pro days, meeting them via Zoom or whatever. You're going to have a much better feel for it at that point than you are now. And the best time to trade Deshaun Watson, if you're Houston, is before this draft. That's the time.
Yeah.
It's got to be done then. As John McClain laid out for us, have a meeting, sit down. Can we get past this? No. Okay. Here's the deal. Let's put one together. Let's find a place. Let's get the most out of this and move on. I mean, that's kind of the way that this thing has to go for them. And I think that conversation will be one that happens in a month.
Yeah, that's the way that you're right. That's the way that it's got to go. That's it. That's the list.
Yeah. Steelers restructuring Cam Hayward's contract, covered most of his $10.5 million deal into a signing bonus, saving the team $7 million. They're going to have to do a lot of this because they got a lot of problems. So they got a lot of this stuff that they're going to have to do over the course of the coming month.
Yep, and that doesn't even get to the Ben issue or anything they're trying to do, but that's what smart teams do. Look, the salary cap, as much as we make a big deal about it, and the salary cap is a big thing, but at the same time, the salary cap is something that can be looked at as a tool that can be manipulated when it needs to be manipulated. So that's exactly what I would say is happening here, in the sense that they're pushing it down, and you can always do that, and smart teams will always do that. That's exactly how you're supposed to. That's the point of it. And so they can make those manipulations, and that's why no team is ever. We do talk about teams that are they're in salary cap purgatory or this or that, whatever. But the truth is, you're able to survive a heck of a lot longer on the salary cap when you have no money than, look at the Chiefs. Remember last year they said they didn't have that much money. They signed everybody.
No money.
Everybody that was important to them.
Whatever they wanted.
Anybody they wanted, they got, because that's what you're able to do.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely you were. All right, still to come. At the top of the hour, your positional breakdown. We start at the quarterback position. Everybody's under contract. What needs to happen between now and next season at this position group? And the champion will join us as well. Mike the Miz will join next hour as well. Around 2:30 is the plan for that. So you have that to look forward to, which is nice. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. If you're injured at work, call the Workers' Compensation Lawyers at 1-800-ELK-OHIO for a free case review. Elk and Elk, a proud partner of the Cleveland Browns, of course. Time for the CBD position breakdown heading into free agency, and we start at the quarterback position. And it is nice to not have to worry about this. In-house, locked and loaded and under contract, Baker Mayfield, Case Keenum, Kyle Lauletta also there as well. This comes down to Baker, and this really was such an emphatic answer to the question of, is Baker Mayfield the future quarterback of the Cleveland Browns? You're damn right he is. And he proved it over the second half of this season. It was something that had to be answered from the standpoint of, can we find a way to get the best out of this guy again? And boy, did the two work hand in hand, and all of those things were accomplished.
They all were accomplished. And I think when you look at why the draft is no longer the day of salvation, or why you're not looking at it through that lens, it's because you've got a quarterback. And you've got Baker Mayfield coming off a career year, 95.9 rating, 72.1 QBR, both the best of his career, 63% completions, 3,563 yards, 26 touchdowns, and a career low 8 interceptions. You remember when we went through the numbers, we look at what Cousins, and we look at Garoppolo, and we'd say mid-20s, touchdowns, maybe to low 30s, single-digit interceptions. Now, those numbers are even crazier when you consider that after the interception to Odell Beckham Jr., on the first play of Week 7, he sat with 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions at that point.
Wow.
He then goes 20 touchdowns and 2 picks the rest of the way, which is just phenomenal, really clicking in this offense. The Browns obviously likely to pick up his 5th-year option. Now, that could come this year. They're going to pick that up, and they're going to work towards a long-term deal. Could a long-term deal come this summer? Sure. Could it come in the middle of the season? Sure. Could it come after next year? Yes. All on the table for Andrew Berry and Baker Mayfield to figure that out. But, we talked with Alex Van Pelt at length about Baker, and it's the work ethic. It's the commitment to the ability to receive coaching and to implement that coaching in a meaningful and positive way. And so you feel really good about what you got. You saw somebody who embraced the lifestyle that it takes to be the quarterback and got coaching. Coaching matters. Coaching matters, and Baker Mayfield got great coaching. And again, at the beginning of the season, a lot of it had to do with play-action bootlegs. That's where a lot of our big plays were coming on offense.
Oh, yeah.
As the season progressed, we became a drop-back team. And I remember we were talking with Coach Stefanski, and it was going into the Jacksonville game. And we said, You got some tough games coming up. Tennessee was looming on the horizon, another Baltimore game. The Steelers were going to be at the end of the year. And you said to yourself, no, this is a team that struggled with quarterbacks. Is this a game where you want to start to implement some, just like put in, not that it's practice. They're professionals, obviously, and they gave us a heck of a ball game. But do you start going to more of a drop-back offense because you know you're going to need that at times? Yeah. And he, of course, shrugged off the question, gave an answer that was saying, we're going to keep just trying to get better. But you saw that evolution really start that week. And we became more of a drop-back passing team. And Baker, over the final half of the season, was top 5 to 8. In somewhere he was up in the 8th, but lots of them top 3 in every category when you're talking about, yards per attempt, successful plays, touchdown interception ratio, quarterback rating, tight window throw percentage, big play throw percentage, all of those things. When you scrubbed out play action, when you scrubbed out getting out of the pocket, and you looked at empty sets where they know you're passing, 3rd and longs where they know you're passing, he became one of the best quarterbacks. And I saw something today that I took a little bit of an issue with.
Okay.
Mike Tannenbaum, who was the general manager in the league with the Jets, and I think is a smart football mind.
Yeah, we've had Mike on.
I like him a lot. He said something, and I would love to be able to be the one that we could probe him further and what he means by this. But what he said was, you need to get the deals for Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson done well before the Browns would have to consider, the deal for Baker, because those guys have skill sets that are much more difficult to replace than Baker Mayfield. And so the implication to me is that those guys are special and Baker is not. And
I didn't read it that way when you said it.
How did you read it?
I read it that those guys run, and everything they're built upon and those offenses are built upon is built based on those guys' mobility. Is the first thing that came into my head when you read it. I didn't necessarily think that one was special or one was not. They're more accomplished, certainly. One's an MVP, the other's a second-term team All-Pro, so that there's probably part of that. But the way that I read it the way I interpreted it when you read that to me was because everything is built on that extra facet of run, and you just can't get guys who can do that.
I agree with that
fair.
as it relates to Lamar Jackson. But everything that they did in Buffalo was to support him as a thrower of the football, bringing in Stephon Diggs and all that. Of course, in the red zone, yes, he brings a different skill set. But what I would say is, is Drew Brees over his career, is that replaceable? Is Tom Brady replaceable? No. When you can decipher defenses, make the correct decisions with the football, deliver it on time and accurately, that makes you a difference maker, and that makes you special. And so you want to see more of it. You want to see that continued evolution. That was one of the things you could just count on year after year, is that even though with limited physical sets, that Drew Brees and Tom Brady, and these are two of the best to ever do it, but look, you're taking number 1 overall. You had a run here, 20 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. You have the capability of being, if you can do what he did over the second half of the season consistently, year after year, and of course you're probably going to throw more picks than that, but if you can be a guy that's living in the 2.5, you don't have to live in the 10-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, but if you're living in the 2.5 to 3, we're going to win a lot of games. And I think accuracy, and this goes back to just the way that I view the position through a lens that, look, there's no question Josh Allen, if you can have somebody who can be accurate and add what Josh Allen can do on top, that's what makes Russ so dangerous when he's at his peak. But you don't need to be a mobile quarterback to win. You need to be accurate.
By the way, our guy is mobile.
And our guy can extend plays with his legs, clearly. He thrives out of the pocket as well as in it now. But I thought Baker Mayfield played at an elite Breesian level with a much stronger arm, mind you, and without a vertical threat. He did all this without a vertical threat over the second half of the season. Sure, we schemed up some big plays, but we're talking ball placement. We're talking those are the things that cannot be taught.
Look at the Kansas City game and the difficulty of throws that Baker Mayfield had to make versus the difficulty of throws that Patrick Mahomes had to make. Now, I'm not suggesting that Baker right now is on the level that Patrick can be, and I don't know if he'll ever be there. Patrick has some things physically you can't coach from an arm strength. We just have never seen anything like it. But what we can say is Baker's tight window throws were on the money, and he had to make a lot of them. And Patrick Mahomes did not. Now, he still put it on the money, but his guys were running a lot because they had so many threats vertically. And that is something that was obvious as the season went along. One incredible statistical anomaly, that Baker threw the same exact amount of throws his rookie year in 13 games as he threw this year in 16. 486 attempts.
Wow.
Completed 5 less. He completed 310 for 486 as a rookie, 305 for 486 in his third year, that has nothing to do with anything. It's just incredible that you throw the exact same amount of passes in 2 of your 3 NFL seasons. I think the big thing that if you're looking for how can you get better, what can we do better, it's just more of what you saw in the second half. And it's probably a completion percentage that reaches into the 68 level, which we're at 63. Baker was at 63 this year. He was 64 as a rookie, right at 60 in his second year. Now, part of the reason that his is low is he takes a lot of chances. He's not afraid to take chances with the ball, and so completion percentage sometimes can drop when you do those things. But if you think about the jumps that Allen has made in his career, under the same coordinator, mind you, now at Baker playing in the same offense, the same coordinator, same quarterback coach, if he can go from a 63% passer to a 68% passer, that is a whole new level there.
Now we're cooking with gas, and listen.
Yeah. That's really the one thing.
That's that's the evolution, comfort. But you have to go back and say to yourself, as a Browns fan, putting on optimistic lens right here, you mean over the course of one bye week? Because remember, we played 3 of these games in the stretch where he goes 20-2 and all that in absurd weather.
Oh, yeah.
That they were able to, our coaching staff was so good at deciphering our tendencies, communicating with our quarterback, what do you like doing the best, figuring it out, and then building that out over half of a season on the fly and getting the results that we did is nothing short of incredible. And to think that now we're going to have an entire offseason to do those things is exciting. I think it's very exciting. And you've got Baker, and we said Case Keenum, I think a valuable guy in that room. And he's here, again, not just from his mentorship, but and his professionalism, for being a sounding board, as somebody who knew the offense, but a guy that, in 2017 took the Vikings to the NFC Championship game. A guy who that year, you talk about what you're talking with Stefanski, 68% completions, 22 touchdowns, 7 picks, quarterback rating 98.3. The difference between a lot of the quarterbacks when they say that this system struggles at times in the playoffs, you're able to create this scheme, is so good. And the guys that are able to run it and the play callers are so good. Baker can make throws Jimmy Garoppolo can't. Baker can make throws that Jared Goff can't. Baker can make throws that Case Keenum can't. Baker can make throws that a lot of the quarterbacks that have previously been in this system or propped up by this system can't. And that's why that evolution to him being more of a drop back guy, when we have both of those tools in our toolbox, boy, that could be good. All we need to get some speed for him. Get him some speed.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gibby asked the question, in terms of the importance of Case Keenum. This would be something that if in the old days when we were in the building, you'd have a much better feel about how that room worked. You know it better than I, but what I can say is just from my point, just observing, the guy who was sat next to Baker whenever Baker was on the tablet was Case Keenum.
Yep.
That was the guy.
I saw it on
there
the sidelines.
every single time. Yeah, he was there every time. So to me, he seemed like an incredibly important and positive voice for Baker last season, and that will only continue to grow.
If we can take the trajectory that we had from week 6, which remember was the Steelers game, he played injured, and he was much, much more injured than I think people knew at the time. That where he was there and where we are now, I think you could have gotten pretty good odds that this is the conversation you were going to have, meaning that things were not looking likely that we would be sitting here talking about a quarterback at that point who threw 20 touchdowns and 2 interceptions and led the team to the divisional round of the playoffs against the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. Team that won 12 games and had a quarterback who basically played top 5 at his position. Because coming out of that Steelers game, there weren't a lot of indications that was even on the horizon.
Oh, no. It felt like it happened in a moment in the Cincinnati game, like it just flipped.
21 straight completions.
Yeah, because even before the interception, it was like, man, what is going on? Then that interception happens, and from then it's done. It's flipped, and then the bye week helps it, and now you have a whole off season, and now you're talking about what we were able to do is at the end of the season versus what we were able to do at the beginning, and now you're going to add a whole off season to it. There's a lot to be excited about at this position, and it's nice to not have to worry about any of this. Like, you're set. You got your franchise, you got your starting quarterback, you got the backup, you're set to go, and that's the way that you're going to approach the year. And I was worried. I will be candid. I was worried that maybe AVP wouldn't be here, and I think that his relationship was really key. He felt like he was so emphatic and so determined upon hire of what he knew he could do with Baker and what he wanted to do, and then he implemented it.
Yep.
From footwork, mechanics. And you saw it over the course of the year. You saw it through the offseason. You saw it through camp. And then you really see it happen during the year. And I thought there was a chance we could lose him. And now doesn't look like we won't. That's huge. That's going to be huge coming back.
It is. And, again, coaching matters. I know you talk about it with Laurinaitis in Columbus all the time. Coaching matters.
Yeah.
And getting good coaching is what is and a player's desire to take the coaching and to put in the work to do it. That's what allows people to take massive steps. And we've had multiple people in the building, out of the building, people who know this game, know quarterback play, said they have never seen an in-season metamorphosis like we saw with Baker Mayfield. And it was like he unleashed Magnum. It was like when you're talking about Derek Zoolander and you got Mugatu. Mugatu wants him to become derelict. And he did. It was beautiful. He blossomed.
It really was. He really did. He really metamorphosis. We saw it with our own 2 eyes. That was great. We'll continue this as we continue to get into closer to free agency. And it's nice not to have to worry about the quarterback position. Greg Rosenthal of the NFL.com with a potential AFC cuts over the next few weeks. Remember, this will happen first. We kind of talked already about what Carolina is doing, trying to get in line to get Deshaun Watson. We'll go over some of these guys and see if any of them would be an interest to us. That is coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Both on.
The champ going to join us in about 10 minutes. The Miz joining, fresh off of winning the WWE Championship a second time. He'll join us here in about 10 minutes. Between now and then, Greg Rosenthal goes through the potential AFC cuts over the next few weeks, calls his shots on some guys, and one of the guys we talked about at the top of his list as potential cuts is Von Miller, number one on his list of potentials. We talked about that off the top of the program, that he would be a strong candidate for release, and that Z, and through informed sources, saying that that would be a good fit for us.
Yeah, I think he would be an excellent pass rusher. Obviously, dislocated a tendon in his ankle that forced him to miss all of last season. Now, his previous full season before that was 19. He had 8 sacks in that one, and that was the year that Bradley Chubb went down in the middle of the year. It was supposed to be opposite. He will be 32, had a string of 5 straight seasons with double-digit sacks. He's been a Pro Bowler now in his career 8 times out of 9 seasons, including 2019. He's been 3-time All-Pro, 2010 All-Decades team with the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's a stud. There's no doubt. I mean, the guy, he's a stud. He is more of that light pass rusher, not necessarily the run stopper. J.J. Watt would give you a lot more sturdiness up front, but this is a guy that can get around the edge, and you could imagine it would be very difficult to try to protect a quarterback dealing with both Von Miller and Myles Garrett.
Certainly would. Also on his list of cuts, David Njoku, number 10 on his list of cuts. What do you have to say about that? He says the 2017 first-round pick played his best game of the season against the Chiefs, will not be forgotten in Cleveland anytime soon.
I don't see us cutting him. I mean, for his athletic profile
got big value,
and what he can do for the team, I want to keep David Njoku around. And I don't think, when you say that won't be forgotten in Cleveland anytime soon, then says he's going to, he's number 10 out of here. I don't frankly see that. I really don't. I think that David Njoku brings something different than everybody else in our tight end room, significantly so. And we're talking about athleticism and we're talking about speed. I don't think you want to take away one of the guys who possesses both athleticism and speed in your passing game the way that the Chief does.
Yeah, and there's nobody else on this list of strong candidates for release that jump out to me that we would want to be interested in. None of the rest of those guys fit kind of what we're looking for, I don't think. He does mention potential surprise cuts. He has Ben Roethlisberger number 1 on that list. I just feel like they're going to find a way to do something where everybody wins with that situation. I have a hard time believing they're just going to cut him, but who knows?
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. By the way, fine either way there.
Fine either way. John Brown of the Bills mentioned on this list as well, and obviously he's got a little bit of speed to burn, so that's an interesting one there. Casey Hayward, the corner out of the Chargers, as a potential surprise cut. Jamison Crowder, who had a great season with the Jets, despite their lack of their inability or struggles to throw the ball on this list. Malcolm Butler, the Super Bowl hero from a couple of years ago with Tennessee, also mentions potential surprise cuts. Adrian Claiborne, right here with the Browns.
I think Claiborne brings a veteran steadiness. I thought he made some nice plays, especially in the divisional round against the Chiefs when he got the start. And you're not breaking the bank with Claiborne in town.
No.
So that would be
a nice contract.
That would surprise me.
Any of these others jump out to you that we would potentially have an interest in surprise cuts?
Vince Williams maybe as a linebacker. Henry Anderson a couple of years ago was able to get to the quarterback fairly effectively. Nothing jumps out to me really at all. Look, you're always looking to get better at corner. So if McCain or Rowe were there and we thought that they could help potentially, I think that's the position you'd look at. Malcolm Butler, again, if you wanted to bring in a veteran, and that's where you're going to put some of your money. But I would be surprised. Von Miller is the name on this list that seems the most likely for us to be interested in, just because I think it's clear that we're involved in the J.J. Watt sweepstakes and it was clear last year when we, poked around at Clown, we poked around at Ngakoue, that getting that getting better opposite Myles Garrett now that you can't have Olivier Vernon is a priority. I think finding a long-term solution would be a huge priority as well. But as you pointed out, this could be a situation where you say, all right, let's bring one of these guys in for a year and then let's draft one. But we don't have to trot that person out there, right away, or let's see what Curtis Weaver can become. But we're not forced to play that person in a year where we have real aspirations.
There is tons of talent at defensive end that I think will be available at the end of the first round when we pick.
It seems that way in these mocks.
Tons
absolutely.
Of it. Yeah, there's a lot of talent down there. So you get a guy, Kwity Paye falls to you, or Owe, the kid out of Penn State. One of those guys falls, and they can fall in your lap. There is going to be an abundance of pass rush talent in free agency and in this draft. It appears that it is one of the strengths of free agency. It is one of the. I can assure you, it's one of the strengths of this draft. So you are going to get a nice player, and you can do both. Frankly, that'd be great. Do both. Bring a guy in here in a couple of years and have a young guy who can develop and go opposite Miles. But you want somebody, and to your point, it's fantastically made. If you're in on J.J. Watt, if you are showing interest in Von Miller, if you're showing interest in Jadeveon Clowney, you want somebody opposite Miles now.
Yep.
Not, let's see what we need a guy to develop for 2 years. You want somebody opposite Miles right now, because this is, to use the ship analogy, it's one that's all built. It's just adding here or there to go chase the whole thing, and that's what you're lining up for this offseason. Put yourself into position, make a couple of tweaks here or there, a couple of improvements here or there, so that you can make a run for it all. And that starts opposite Miles, finding that guy who can help you right away. So looks like we're going to have a lot to choose from there.
It certainly does, and I think that's one of the big, you talk about the big pressure points, and one of the big decisions for Andrew Berry. It's, the end position, the defensive backfield, wide receiver, but they're limited. But that one, I think we've said it all along, that pass rusher opposite Miles is priority one this offseason.
Yep, it absolutely is. Priority one for us right now is a visit with the champ. The Miz joins us coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. A couple of interesting stories. The Miz will join us here momentarily. A couple of interesting stories. Notre Dame dropping out of the EA Sports game for now states name, image, and likeness, which is kind of what I thought was going to be the problem with this. I know they've got like 100 teams signed up, but if you don't have the right teams, then it's not going to have the juice. But they've got it going, and then they'll get name, image, and likeness sorted out after that. It's kind of the way that would work chronologically. And then did you see what happened with Deion Sanders?
I saw that. I just read a blurb or saw something that Aikman went down there. What happened?
So he coached his first game at Jackson State.
Yep.
They played an NAI team. They won 53-0. Troy Aikman was at the game.
Okay.
At the post-game press conference, he's visibly mad and upset and says that all of his stuff was stolen, that his wallet, phone, credit cards, money, all of his stuff was stolen. And he's livid, and it's the second time it's happened. So then the athletic director at Jackson State tweets, it's all been found, it was just misplaced. Deion, or Coach Prime as they call him down there, tweets back, no, we've got witnesses that somebody took it, and we're going to find out who it is, we're going to get him. And you just wonder, like, why are you doing this? Why are you putting up with all this stuff, man? If you're Deion Sanders, why are you doing all of this? You never know what a man's why is, and I don't know what the end game is for him. Maybe he's trying to find that competitive juice that he had in playing and doing it here. Maybe he's trying to coach at Florida State. I have no idea. But it's been a wild ride for him, to say the least.
I mean, that's been my question from the very beginning. Why is this happening? It has not made sense to me at any point that he would do this.
The only thing I can think of is when somebody of that, can you imagine how bright his star burnt at his apex? I mean, he's as big a superstar in this country as there was at that time. I mean, he had a signature Nike football shoe playing corner.
That's right.
Think about that. Like, nobody has that now, and he had it. Nobody had signature shoes in football. Bo Jackson had one, and he had one, and Bo's was a cross trainer. Like, there was no signature shoe.
No.
Deion Sanders had a signature shoe. I don't even know still if there's a signature football shoe. Is there? I don't know.
I mean, Odell's got the OBJs.
Oh, yeah, Odell does. That's right, because, the boys have them. Yeah, Odell has them. Yeah, Odell had some. There was, I don't know if Mahomes, I don't know. But Deion had it playing corner. So can you imagine going from that and that type of attention and star power to then you go to CBS and NFL, and that stuff solves it a little bit in terms of just your competitive juices, but maybe it didn't quench all of them. And maybe just the competitive thing is something that he hasn't been able to find an answer for.
It's one of those, it's a mystery to me, and I can't wait for the 30th for 30 on it one day. And, we'll see what the net result is. Because it's hard for me to understand or to fathom that this is his end game in this.
No, my assumption would be that he's trying to coach like at Florida State or at Texas A&M or at Texas, he lives in Texas now. Like, my assumption is that that's what he's trying to do, and he's trying to show that, A, he can recruit, which he's shown that already. He's gotten some 4-star kids, which is unheard of. But that he can, A, recruit, and B, run an organization so that those places will take him seriously and give him a job. I think people think it's really easy for former NFL guys to just go back to the alma mater and get a job as a coordinator. It's not. Brian Hartline, North Canton kid, played for the Dolphins, got a lot of money, Buckeye standout, played here. When he went to Ohio State to be a coach, he was a grad assistant. He wasn't a receivers coach.
Yeah.
He was a grad assistant. That's humbling, man.
Yeah. That's wild. It is humbling. I remember the game when Brian Hartline had 200-plus yards against the Cardinals as a member of the Miami Dolphins. He had that monster game. Yeah, it is tough. The only thing that would make sense to me is if he wants to be the guy, I don't know if in his mind maybe he feels like, and you would know the history better to even think this is something he could think, but I know that he felt like he built the Georgia Dome, the house that Deion built, and that, oh.
You got him.
Oh, boy.
Wow. Well, we'll have to revisit that in just a second, folks, because it's JR's business is about to pick up as we welcome in on the hotline, Parma's own, Cleveland's own, your WWE champion for the second time, The Miz. Congratulations, brother. What a night it was at WWE Elimination Chamber when you cashed in Money in the Bank to become the WWE champion for the second time. And I got to ask you, how did it feel? It has been a long time coming. And before we get your answer, though, I want you to know this. I don't know if you're aware of this. The first two-time WWE Grand Slam champion in the history of the business. Multi-time world champ, multi-time IC champ, multi-time US champ, multi-time tag team champ, and multi-time Money in the Bank holder. That's a pretty, not bad for a kid from Parma, my friend. Not to mention reality star, movie star, yada, yada, yada.
Not bad at all. It was an exciting night for me. It was pretty incredible to be WWE champion. But not only that, to bring a championship to Cleveland, Ohio, that is always the main goal and main focus, to bring championships to the city that I love. And I feel like I bring the WWE championship this year, and I think the Cleveland Browns are ready, primed up to go to the Super Bowl. We know how to beat our rivals. We know how to win in playoff games. Now we just need a couple extra pieces, and I think the piece that we need is J.J. Watt. We have the money to get him. We need that edge rush, a good leader for the locker room. So I'm always pushing for J.J. Watt to come to Cleveland, Ohio, so he can take on his brother and beat him twice in a year. I mean, anytime you get to beat up on your brother, that's a good thing. So I'm just super excited to be WWE champion, and it's been 10 years, a long, hard road, but I've been focused, I've been dedicated, and it's an absolute honor to be on your show with the WWE Championship.
Well, the honor is all ours, let me assure you. And I know you mentioned it's been 10 years. And 10 years ago when you first won the title, there was a girl, Angry Miz Girl, they called her, who went viral at that time for the look on her face when you won the championship. It's a very famous picture. I mean, she is pissed. And now you've gotten to meet her, all of that. Have you heard, and if I'm the one telling you this, great. If not, I'm sure you love it anyway. But have you heard what she said? Somebody tracked her down to get her comments on you winning the title again.
Was it you that tracked her down? I feel like you're the person that would track her down, if anything. By the way, I don't think there was anyone more excited about me winning the WWE Championship than you. I don't even think I was excited as you were when I won. Literally, I had like 45. I'm sitting here doing interviews, by the way, and all you're doing is blowing up my phone. And I'm like, Jesus, man, you blow up my phone more than my wife.
I love you, man. And I know what you put in. Earlier in the show, I did a big rant just about how proud I was of you because I know the work that you put in. You never say no. You get up and you do every media. You go town to town. You wrestle. You do everything that's been asked of you for a decade. And there have been times where you certainly were deserving of getting it. We know how hard it is to find that magic moment. And as we said, over time, though, opinions can change. So I can't take credit for it. Sportskeeda tracked her down. And here is what Angry Miz Girl had to say. And I love that I get to read this to you. I personally think he's one of the best on the roster. I know it's a big change from my opinion 10 years ago, but I love him when he's a heel champion. I think he's got the personality for it down to a T. I loved meeting The Miz, and he was always super kind to me, and he worked super hard, so I definitely think he deserves it. So there you go, folks. You can win over. When you can win over your number one detractor and turn them into your number one fan, that's success, and that kind of spans the gamut of your decade from title to title.
Where did you find that? Where did you – she has to be about 20 now.
Yes,
I think when Angry Miz Girl was there, she was probably like 10, maybe 12. So she's got to be about 20, 22 now. So how did you find that?
So I found that on Cage Side Seats, and the headline was Angry Miz Girl is now Happy Miz Young Woman. And so there you go.
Oh, my God.
How great is that?
That's fantastic.
Yeah, man.
You know, that's the only thing that I was a little angry about when I won the title this time is there was no Angry Miz Girl, even though on Twitter there was a lot of negativity. But to be honest with you, there was a little bit of positivity too. And I don't usually get positive remarks. I get a lot of negative. People don't like me. People don't think I'm worthy or deserve. They don't respect me. They think I suck. But, you know, I had those, but I also had the positive remarks. And those are the ones that I was like, truly like, wow, you know, I was able to get some haters to turn a new leaf.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice because I've always been dedicated and making sure that every time I'm on Monday Night Raw, I make it must-see TV, that I make it entertaining for an audience, especially in a time like this when people need something to sit down with their family and just maybe laugh about or watch or get engaged with, to forget about all the realities that are going on in the world, all the drama, you know, something that, you know, can just sit down with your family, to relax and enjoy. And that's like my main goal. Now it's, you know, I have the WWE Championship. It's to make this title the most coveted prize in all of WWE. And to every time you see it on Monday Night Raw, you want to know what's going to happen next. And that is what I'm going to do.
Of course that's what you're going to do. That's what you do whenever you have a title in the WWE. You make it the title. And, of course, this will be the most must-see WWE Championship once again. And I can't wait to see you walk that aisle with the belt and cut one of your classic promos. But this time it is different for you. And what I mean by that is you were young. You were doing it, you know, for your friends, the ones that you grew up with, and all those guys who were in the front row for you at WrestleMania 27 when you walked in as the champion last time. This time, though, you have other motivations. You've got two beautiful daughters at home, a beautiful wife at home, and to be able to, you know, bring that championship home to your family, A, what's that going to be like, and B, what is the legend himself, Mr. Hero George? He's got to be beside himself with pride for his son winning the title again.
He didn't even know I won it last night. Like
erroneous. I texted him.
He called me today.
I
think
texted
you're the
him.
one that told him that I won.
I asked him how proud he was of his second favorite son. No response.
Yeah, that's basically it. But, yeah, I mean, my dad called me today. He's definitely ecstatic about it. He was like, you're going to hold it all the way to Mania, right? I go, well, that's the goal, Dad. We'll see what happens, you know.
One day at a time,
the goal
George.
is to not only hold it till Mania, but to hold it forever.
That's right.
So that's the main focus for me right now. But yeah, it's pretty insane that I get to hold the title again, and to have two beautiful girls at home that it was funny. Yesterday I was cutting these scathing promos, and at the end of them, when they turned off the camera, I go, to be honest, all I really want to do right now is go home and show my girls this title and let them play with it. And just, you know, enjoy being with them and being with my family, because when you have children, and I've heard this time and time again from my friends, and I've always been like, yeah, whatever, dude, okay. But once you do have kids, your whole mindset changes. Everything changes, and everything is for them. All your spare time, everything that you do that you're a success at, you want them to share with you and be there with you. And just, I don't know, like there's nothing better when I come home than my little girls running up to me and giving me hugs.
That's it, man. That's as good as it gets. Talking to The Miz, the two-time and current WWE champion, joining us on the Fifth Third Money Line. Miz, last time we talked to you was before the season started, and we kind of did the schedule release. I think you were on the schedule release show with Nathan and I, kind of taking a look at the schedule and what it could be and all of those things, and then to see it play out. And we know how deeply you love your Cleveland sports teams, and especially the Browns. To witness this season the way that it was, get 11 wins, beat the Steelers twice, what was that like for you to watch, finally a real, true winner and a sustained winner happen in your hometown?
This is the dream that I've had for a very long time, and I think I speak for everyone in Cleveland when I say, like, this was a special year for all of us. It was a turnaround year. Kevin Stefanski came in and changed the mindset of this Cleveland sports team. He literally walked in there, and now when we have close games, we don't lose them. We win them. We beat teams. And I remember every time we'd have a close game, we'd end up losing. Every year it was like, God, we could be like 9-7, but, you know, we lost all these close games because we couldn't figure out how to win. Kevin Stefanski has made this team a winning mentality. And you look at Baker now, and you look at him, and you say, this guy is a franchise quarterback. Nick Chubb is an incredible running back. Kareem Hunt coming in there and being this two-time. Like, I remember the two running backs like Bo Jackson and Marcus Allen, like in Super Techno Bowl. And that's the way I look at Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And then you look at the wide receivers. I met Jarvis Landry. I've seen the focus from him and the leadership that this man possesses, and he's able to convict to the other receivers in the room. You look at a guy like Myles Garrett on the defensive side, just an unstoppable beast. Probably deserved to be Defensive Player of the Year, was snubbed. But this team has all the elements it takes to be a Super Bowl caliber team, and I am so excited. It was a long time coming. I mean, the last time I was this excited about a team was when I was in 5th grade singing Burney, Burney. Oh, baby, Super Bowl. Dun, dun, dun. I remember being on a school bus doing that, and I haven't had this much fun until this year, and I cannot wait till next year. I can't wait to see what they do on the offseason, who we get as draft picks, and I think that, I trust in what Cleveland Browns are doing. I am invested in them, and so whatever they want to do, whether it's my opinion that they need to get J.J. Watt, a person that is a leader like him, is worth every single penny. And so Myles Garrett isn't double-teamed all the time. It'll be incredible for the defense. But if they don't go that route, I trust in them that they will make sure that they are ready to be a Super Bowl caliber team this upcoming year.
Oh, it's going to be glorious, and I think I agree with you, and I thought your pitch to J.J. Watt was a great one. What was kind of the reaction you got from either some of the boys or from anybody that you've been talking to? I know you're on Sports Nation again, and all the stuff you do with ESPN. What was kind of some of the reaction to your promo for J.J. Watt?
It was funny. I wasn't expecting the question. So they kind of just asked questions, and I just shoot at the hip. And when they asked me to cut a promo for J.J. Watt, I cut it. I don't even remember what I said, but I would just use every ammo that I possibly could to hopefully motivate him, hopefully persuade him into choosing the Cleveland Browns as his next suitor. But afterwards, I did not realize the reaction I would get. I mean, people that I haven't talked to in years were texting me going, I'm right on with you, dude. I hope we get them. Like, I was getting texts from everybody, whether they were a Cleveland Browns fan or not. It was pretty cool to have that effect, and hopefully we get them. I mean, what do you guys think?
We'd love it, man. This is the beautiful thing, Miz, is you trust the people running it.
Yep.
We trust Andrew Berry. We trust Kevin Stefanski. We trust Paul DePodesta. We trust the people making these decisions because of what they did a year ago. I mean, the fact that J.J. Watt, there's a mutual interest, tells you how far you've come in a year, my friend. I mean, just being in the mix. Yeah, you want to finish the deal, but you're in the mix. That's a big deal.
Let's think about this. Jimmy Haslam and Dee Haslam went through a lot of head coaches, and they didn't have to fire their coaches, but they felt that they were missing something. And every time they would fire someone, I'd be like, come on, man, just give them another year. Give them another year. And then, when you see the excellence that is Kevin Stefanski, you realize this is what they were looking for.
Yep.
And then when, they brought in the Moneyball guy, DePodesta, you're like, it only works in baseball. Like, we're losing. We had the biggest losing season in the history of NFL football. We're not doing well. And then you look at what happened 3 or 4 years later. It might have took an extra year, but they said it's going to take 3 years of rebuilding to get this team where it needs to be. I think it took 4. But now we have the most money out of anybody. We have draft picks. We have a franchise quarterback. We have an incredible defensive player. We have everything we need. This team is built from the ground up, and they did it the right way, and they did it their way. Even with all of us, because trust me, I was part of it, saying, what are you doing? Why are you making these moves? It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Why are we losing so much? They did it their way. And now we're all behind them. That's the leadership. That's being a leader, doing it your way and knowing that even though things are down, they're going to turn around.
Well, I would say number one, perfectly said. Number two, you could be looking in the mirror, right? You did it your way. And from the time that you came in and burst onto the scene, you win Money in the Bank, you win the WWE Championship, you main event WrestleMania against John Cena with The Rock at a sold-out Georgia Dome, and you kept doing it your way, and here you are a decade later back on top. So sometimes the good things come to those who wait, and even better things come to those who earn it. And I just want to say, obviously you know how proud of you I am and how much I love it, but I am also so excited. This has created a unique opportunity. This is the first time ever that you and I have both been, and Vince as well, world champions at the same time. You have the WWE belt. I've got the George belt. Coming. Woo! 3-time, baby.
You couldn't let me have this day. You couldn't let me have this day. But let me tell you something. This fantasy season, I am getting the George. I am getting the title.
It was your kids. Nobody understands, but now you told us.
Championship and the George at the same time.
Now that
you will not beat me, Nathan. You will not beat me.
Let me tell you this. The moment that you are at the same time the WWE champion and the AFFL champion will be one of the great days in human history. And I will be there to celebrate it. It will be phenomenal. In fact,
the only reason why you're happy about it is because you have like 3 title reigns over me. But once I get to my 3rd title reign and I catch you, that's when you're not going to be speaking so highly.
Listen, you're the one living the dream, brother. Reality show, WWE champion. You're doing just fine. Mine's called Fantasy Championship for a reason. Not nearly as significant or important. But, dude, congratulations. Thanks for joining us. Love you. And can't wait to see what you do tonight on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, thanks, dude. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right.
That is great. Great talking to The Miz. We did so on the 5th third money line, making Cleveland Browns a 5th third better. The next level coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.
You've been